Good evening. This is Barbara Walters reporting to you live from Seattle, Washington.
Y'all, I thought I was dead for a minute. I was like, what is this very pointed voice?
First of all, I will say Laura was giving Barbara Walters. She was giving Barbara
Who's
Walters.
Barbara Walters?
Girl, listen, I had to put on that.
it
Good evening, everyone.
really
Hello.
was giving Katie Couric, though.
You
It
know,
was.
Katie
It
Couric.
was.
listen, it was funny because like we didn't even say who was saying anything yet, and I was like, what could I do that's just absolutely chaotic at this moment?
And you chose chaos because I was not even ready because I laugh a little bit every time it says, "This is now recording."
Right, exactly. So here we are. Hey, what's going on, everyone?
I hate Lauren's pose. I know exactly the pose she's doing. She's like, "Hey."
Well, I guess this is a relative pitch. What's up?
You did not tune in to some other random podcast.
Right.
It's relative pitch. This is relative pitch.
Don't change the channel.
Mhm.
Y'all, we are all coming back from a conference weekend, and our brains are hot right now.
Hot.
Hot. Michael's is smooth. Smooth. And we were just kind of like reflecting on what's been going on, and it's about that time of the year where I think there are a lot of students who may be applying for schools, or maybe you're like in the next stages of figuring out what you really want to do. And lately we have all been getting lots of questions, especially when we go to conferences around like, oh, well, what should I be doing? Or what's the next steps? And blah, blah, blah. And there, I think, are very, the three things that I always say that is not talked about enough within the school setting for people to really know about are conferences, fellowships, mentorships, just mentors in general, because those aren't really things that your school will provide for you necessarily. And so it's almost like additional resources, but all of us have done conferences, some sort of fellowship opportunity, and like having mentors to get to where we are now. So I would even say there's supplementary resources, but more things that you absolutely should consider. But all that to say, there are, as in everything in life, a balance of the good that can come out of these situations and we need to work. We got to work on it. All right.
Mhm.
So, I mean, we kind of have been on the conference train for a while, but I want to continue it because obviously y'all haven't learned. Speaking to you, programmers, conference programmers, conference goers, some of you
Mhm.
also.
Well, also to go with all this, it is conference season.
That's it.
So when you are looking at your calendar in the summer, because you should probably plan ahead, try not to go to too many things that will overextend you.
Mm.
If you're a college kid and you're a music ed major, I would say if you can, out of your 4 years, go to Midwest twice. I think that would be really good. And maybe save it for your later years. Or if you need that bump of encouragement, maybe go your first year and just get all of it. And then go to your state conference 3 or 4 times because you want to get connected with the people that is in your state and in other colleges because those things. And then, of course, we have our own instrumental conferences. Like if your studio is very hip to like NFA, ITG, ITA, like go to those. And if your studio is active and you want to be active with them, those go to them. But when you're looking at your year monetarily and bandwidth wise, you got to make sure you're not killing yourself.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and go into these places to be open to learn as well, because that's what conferences are for. They're for new knowledge, they're for old knowledge. They are to expose you to something new, whether that is something you didn't think about, like, oh my gosh, how am I supposed to work with bassoon players? I've never, done that. So there is maybe a session for you. There are sessions about your mental health within the field, which is very important. Just recently, I went to a session at GMEA where Chandler Wilson, former Relative Pitch guest, and he was talking about balancing life with being a director, which I think is very, very important because once you get into the field, it is so easy to have balance in an unbalanced state where music is 98% of your life and the other 2% is eating and sleeping,
Mm,
which, you know,
mm,
I will just go out on a limb and say that is not healthy. That is not. So when you go to these conferences and you see something like this, go to those because you need to know the whole music things and how to fix that, but you also need to make sure that yourself is well too. And I think
mm.
that is very important. And be open to meeting many people, like that's another thing conferences are beautiful for, is that it puts everyone that you maybe thought about or maybe seen in passing, they're all in one space. So you just go up and say hi and enjoy a conversation and be, you know, available to listen and learn to whom others. Keynote, have genuine connections with people at these conferences.
Yes.
Not
Because
the fake connection.
yes, because one thing that I see at a lot of conferences is the just, oh, hi, I'm so and so. This is what I do. Oh, it's nice to meet you. Boom. Okay, that is, to me, it's very superficial. It is the color of this wall. There's nothing to that. How can we have a genuine connection so that I can do what's best for you and you can do what's best for me, and we are on a genuine connection? So then maybe in 2 years, I might need something, you can help me, or vice versa, or anything like that. Have a genuine connection with the people that you're going to meet at these conferences because you never know what might come back into your life. So have genuine connections.
If it's genuine. Like, again, like the way Anthony just introduced that. Hi, my name is this. I do this. Okay, bye. I will not remember you.
I will
I
walk away.
and
I'll,
I walk away with a swiftness. Anthony will walk away with his cape looking like Snape, main character energy.
Hmm.
I'm
And he
walking.
will. And for me, I already have a hard enough time remembering where people are. Especially in this transition of like being more of a trumpet player than like a teacher kind of thing. So I already have a hard enough time remembering where people are. So if you come up to me and you give me the blah 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 blah, and you don't even ask me how my day is, ask me what's in my left hand because I obviously have like a tea or something, or I ask you like what's good to eat, and you were like, oh, I don't know. Then why are we here?
And it's so funny coming away from it. I'm thinking about all the people who I met over the weekend. I went to Sphinx Connect, SPHINX, which if you do not know that organization, please go check them out. They do a lot of really fantastic work and offering resources to a lot of amazing Black and Latinx musicians in the community and artists in general. But their annual gathering, Connect, was this past week. And what was really amazing about being in that kind of constituency was how different I felt the conversations were versus like when I go to like Midwest or like any of the MEAs that I've attended, where you're right, it's more like, oh, what's your name? Where do you work? Okay, cool.
Mhm.
How did you get into that? And it's like, versus like Sphinx Connect is like, come on, hair, come on back, and it's like we start with this this kind of, right, because shout out to Meg, you already know what I'm talking about. But like, you know what I mean, like you go up and you already have this kind of like people coming up to the table saying the vibe over here was immaculate, I had to come and check out, see what's going on. And then eventually it's like, well, what's your name, like where, and I usually go, where are you based at, because first of all, that's a different question than where you're from usually, right? Because I'm based in Seattle, but I'm from Georgia, and there are layers to all of that. And then you can talk about it. Oh, I'm out here doing this, but usually I actually found myself saying where I worked way at the end of the conversation, like on the tail end. Like I'm more talking about myself, interest, all those things. And so, some people aren't going to want to engage with that, and just recognize that when that happens, maybe just walk, say, okay, well, it was nice meeting you, and walk away, and put them out of your brain. You don't necessarily need to try to remember, that. But yeah, I just think in general, try to practice those soft skills, which is another thing that people don't talk about enough within schooling and education, is like those soft skills of how to have a conversation with someone without being weird, because there's a balance too of not oversharing when you first meet
Yes.
people, or like asking weird, like very not, you don't have to be professional, but things that are, you're like, what are you doing? You have to know how to read the room.
Mhm.
um
Oof.
yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Well, and to piggyback off that, a couple of other things, like just go key things. You don't have to go to everything because you will not enjoy yourself. If you are in sessions all day and then go to all the concerts, like, yes, I love that for you. If that's what you actually want to do, go for it. You probably won't enjoy yourself and won't be able to make genuine connections. Now, go to things you really need. Like Midwest falls at the end of the fall semester. Sit with yourself a week or two before and be like, what did not go well this semester? And then you look at the things, and then you then apply it in January when you come back to school. Another thing, the minute you were outside the conference and you were having dinner with people, maybe some libations, the conference is over. Done.
Oof.
It's cut that day. Be people. Be people with people.
Mm.
Mm.
But and with that, just be aware, because yes, absolutely. Now, be smart though,
Okay,
because
period. That's what I was about to say. Hold on now. There's some caveats.
it was like everybody.
Listen, hold on. Hold on. Look, look.
I knew y'all were gonna get that.
Don't say brother to pitch was saying be buck wild in the streets
Well,
now.
I didn't say, but I did not say buck wild. I said be people with people.
Well, some people's version of people with people, meaning I'm gonna have something on Instagram live, like
Okay, now don't do that. Don't do that.
let's not do that. But what I get what you're saying about you have to have that kind of, okay, look, Mr. Blah blah blah, that's at the conference, or Miss blah blah blah, or Dr. So we are now just people. But the thing is, you have to always remember eyes are watching.
Yep.
People are
And
watching.
they are watching,
And
and there is standards.
people are going to remember. So
Yes.
if you up in the bars and you sloppy doopy drunk and you out here falling around, oh, hopefully the person that was in Athens on Friday that face planted on Daughtery Street, I hope you're doing okay because
Ooh,
honey, the police was called. I didn't know.
prayers.
I really hope it's okay. I
Right.
really because ooh,
Yeah, yeah. Like, so, but you do have to enjoy yourself. And here's the thing. Usually at the bars, that's where you're going to meet more people than you meet at the conference.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
And here's the thing. I want to go back to something Lauren said about that kind of breaking the wall down of the conversation. Like, there's a reason why when you see us, we're dressed nicely, because one is like, oh, look at that, like that's cute, how you doing, and then you engage in a conversation. There's a reason. It's a conversation starter, for one, as you can see. Number two, um every person that you meet though is not worthy of your time.
Ooh.
say it again. Just say it again.
Like, I think I have to. Every person that you meet will not be worthy of your time,
Mm.
because there are certain people that are going to meet you for many reasons. Some could be really good and some could be bad, where they are not meeting you with genuine intentions. They're trying to see, oh, why does everybody like this person? Let me find the bad thing about them because something ain't right. That's
Mm.
that's bad intentions. Oh, I've heard much about you. What makes you so special?
Mm, mm.
So that person there does not and is not worthy of your time. Walk away. Walk
And
away.
be wary as well, especially in those settings. As a young person, especially if you are making strides and people are starting to see that you're gaining attention for whatever you're doing, please be wary of false mentors,
Ooh,
right? So these people who come into your life who are trying to, you know, be framed for you as someone to look up to, someone who they should be, who someone who you should be always asking for their advice, their questions, um, and they want you to see them as a god, basically, right? Like you, almost like you owe them something in a way. And we've talked about this plenty of times, and we have been around many people who've tried to be false mentors to all of us as individuals and as a group. And the thing about mentors, no mentor of mine that I actually respect tells me what to do.
period. And
No respected mentor
talk about it.
tells me what to do.
And on top of that, no respected mentor will feel like they're in competition with you.
Because what are we doing?
What? There, let me just tell y'all a quick story real quick, because this has been heavy on my heart. There's this one person who I'm guessing in his mind, he's a mentor of mine. Let me just say this on the record, you're not. Um, Let me just go on the
On
record
the
and say
record. On the record.
that. So every time he sees me and he sees the accomplishments that I have garnered for myself, mind you, without his help whatsoever, he always tries to say, well, I've done this, and here is where I am, and here's where you are. You got a lot to learn. Baby, just because you've been doing it for a long period of time does not mean you're an expert in anything. Time is just a length. The question is, what did you do with that time?
Mm.
Because yes, I might have a shorter time in this field, but I would have to say that I have done things. I work well. You remember back in elementary school, they would always say work effectively.
Ooh,
I've worked effectively with my time.
You know what else they said? Work well with others.
I was
Mm.
just literally about to say that.
Work well with others.
So and this gentleman really
Mm.
tried his best to dim my light. And here's my thing, and here's my advice to anyone that may have these false mentors: never let not one of them dim your light, because they are not worthy of your time, your efforts, and your peace. Walk away.
Ooh,
Ooh.
Walk away, because let me just tell you, your light, it shines more than them. So now they are now challenged because you are shining more than them.
ooh, and moths are attracted to a flame, right? So when
Ooh,
you see them, like, come on, somebody, amen. But like
amen.
when they
Amen.
come to you like that, when you find that they are coming to you and coming to you and coming to you, you are doing something right. First of all, let me say that there is nothing you're doing wrong. The issue is that they see something in you that they want. They
Mm,
either want it for them, they want that light, meaning they want to take it from you, put it back on them. Don't let them.
And I was about to say, what happens when a lot of moths get on one light? It gets dim.
mm. So you got to shed that.
Hmm.
Walk away. Make
Hmm.
your light. Because here's the thing: when you have those moths that are trying to dim your light, guess what? You move over here to where the other flames are.
Right.
Your flame gets bigger. You walk
Yes.
away to people that's going to love you, that's going to pour into you. And just one other story, there is a mentor of mine who I love dearly. When we get together, because it was funny, it was literally, here's this person that is trying their best to take me down, and I go over here with someone who is a mentor of mine, and it was nothing but love, nothing but prosperity, nothing but just we are all here together and we are just fellowshipping together and enjoying our time.
Yeah.
Mm,
That's the reason why the other one looks old, pruned, and an old maiden.
So
not me.
I'm also say this is for the young people.
Mm.
This is for the older people. This is for everybody. I got this quote last night while we were watching some poorly written television.
Hmm.
Ooh.
And it was good until then. It was really good until these last two episodes. Poorly written television. But it said just because someone's light is shining brighter than yours doesn't give you an excuse to dim it.
Mm.
Mm.
And I took that because I'm like, I have noticed a growth in myself. Like when I first started attending conference, I was always trying to like meet the people, do all this other stuff. And now lately, I'm like, y'all, get me up out of here. Like
Literally, y'all,
look,
okay,
I am
this year, I spent less time there than I was like, like, hey y'all, like we see each other, I go to sessions and again, for us and my we're speaking because we've done these things for a couple years now, so we just know. So I go to the things that I truly want that I think I'm going to get value, and then I'm done. The whole politics and the whole all that, at some point you have to do that at your own time, but you got to find your own way to do it. And my way to do this thing and to be in this field is not to be wrapped around following behind somebody in the exhibitor hall and
and they
talking
got a train already.
stuff. Like I truly do not care. That to me does nothing. If we really wanted to have a person-to-person conversation, we'll do it somewhere where it's not for everybody to see on TV.
Mm.
And that's
Because
another thing about mentorship. If you are looking for a mentor and they only want to talk to you in front of someone else,
that should be a red flag.
The biggest red flag.
sorry,
Uh,
it's not for me. It's not. Um, if they truly cannot have a conversation with you,
mm.
A conversation, two ways.
Hmm.
two ways where they're learning about you and you're learning about them,
Mm.
it's time to go on. It is time to move on.
And the thing about just like mentorships like that are framed in a way that it's like, oh, you should want me as a mentor. You're going to gain so much from it. They're this same situation, and we talked about this a lot with Shantanique Moore when she was here with us about a lot of her positions, but about the idea of fellowships. Fellowships are, supposed to, and we've, like I said, we've all participated in certain things, fellowships recently, way in the past, and fellowships are really supposed to give you, experience, resources that you wouldn't normally be able to have in a normal, whatever, academic setting. And they're framed in a way where it's almost like a work study kind of, right? Like you're kind of in school or kind of in an educational experience. You're not really professional, but you're participating usually in the whatever the work of the whatever everyone else is doing. The issue though is they sometimes fellowships, especially the ones for a certain demographic, if it's like for women or for people of color or for, whatever, um, check to see what the actual organization looks like. Because if you find yourself in fellowship positions where you're now being asked to do donor events, you're getting your photo taken and slapped on everything, they're using you as well. They're
Mhm.
using you as well. And here's it, because fellowships usually pay, and if you find a good one, they can even pay you well, and maybe you will gain experience that will really help you. But just be mindful that it comes with the cost of them wanting something as well, which is going to be your likeness, your face. So seeing you, wanting to position you in a way that makes them look better, which is the same situation as Anthony was just referring to with the idea of these people, false mentors, I'm going to keep saying it, who only want to be seen with you in public settings. But when it comes to the work of like, I'm really struggling with this and I would really like to sit down and talk about it, if they're just like, just do what I did, they're not really there to help you. They're not there to help you whatsoever. Fellowships that are just like using you and your images for, whatever reasons and purposes, and you actually say, hey, this is actually, I could be using this, or I could do this, and they're not willing to actually listen to you and hear you out, those are also situations to walk away from. I know you may feel like you'll never get those opportunities again. Yes, you will. And
Mhm.
everyone has different limited, like different, we're all on a spectrum, right? We all can handle different things depending on what mood we're in, the time of the year, all these different things. So maybe that you could, one year you could go through a fellowship that really eats away from you, but you gain things and you walk away from it stronger. There could be another year you try to do the same thing and it destroys you. You just have to be very aware of who you are. Surround yourself. Oh my gosh, someone said this at Sphinx this past weekend. When you cannot find your community in the exact space that you're in, you have to go outside of that space. Go find it, your community. Go find it anywhere. But if you can't find it here, then you have to find it here.
Mhm. Mhm.
That can be your saving grace, are the people around you who may not be directly involved in that situation, whether it's school, fellowship, work, your community, though, the people who surround you. That is what's actually going to get you through that.
Correct.
I remember saying this. We were having a conversation at Midwest with a person, and he was asking about mentorship and things. And I remember telling him, like, if you look at relative pitch, we
Mm,
were in three different facets of music. We realized the community, even though we were still in those communities and we had no problem in them, but we knew we had to go outside of just being a flute player, just being
mm,
a trumpet player, just being a vocalist. We had to expand to find our community to where we are today. And if it wasn't for that, relative pitch would not exist.
Correct.
And something that you were saying, Lauren, that I was feeding into a person just at GMEA, um, which, and I think people, when you have done the work for yourself, you have to realize that you have built a name for yourself and you have to take control of that name. Don't let somebody else capitalize off of your name.
mm,
Don't do that because that is what these things they're waiting for, to latch onto your name
mhm,
and then exploit your name. And then when you realize you're really not getting anything in return, then here comes all of these things like, what am I doing here? Why do I feel like this? Because they're exploiting you and you're
right.
getting nothing in return. And especially if you are thinking about going off to a graduate degree, master's, doctorate, or going for a job, guess what? If you have done the work, now here's the important part. If you have done the work,
Mhm,
you have a name for yourself. So when you go to these places, this is who I am, this is what I've done, and this is what my name comes with. Make sure you are the person in charge of using your name,
right.
okay? Because this person, he was just like, I don't know if these people would take me. Honey, you have a name. You have done work to your musicianship high level. Your leadership is at a high level. Your artistry is at a high level. I need you to realize that you are worthy of anything that comes to you.
Mhm,
And what comes to you is what is destined for you. So I need you to see the light that your name has, and I need you to be in charge of that. It is
mhm,
very, very important because I'm telling you, these
mhm,
people that are in charge are just going to see an attack and then leave you dry once they're done. Don't let that be you. Don't let that be you.
I wanted to also say, because we were talking about false mentors and stuff, and I've learned through the years of having false mentors and real mentors that the real mentors, when I ask them, I'm like, hey, I'm struggling with this, and ask them a question, they ask a different question. They put it in a different light.
Yep.
I'd be like, I have students struggling with this. And they'll just say something else that's maybe completely irrelevant. And then we'll get back to there. But they will never be like, oh, just do this, 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 and this, and this. They're like, nope, nope, no, no, no. They're like, there was one time I was like, yeah, I'm just struggling with my studio and all this other stuff. And they're like, how's your personal practice?
Mm.
And I was like,
Right. Got me.
Did I didn't ask that question. And so mentors are there to inspire, challenge, and encourage.
Mhm.
And I mean challenge. That doesn't mean like, oh, we beefing, oh, you ops, like I'm gonna put you down. No, challenge the way you think and make you get outside the way you think in the box that you exist. Because you already think a certain way and they think a different way. And the reason why they are your mentor, or you have chosen them as a mentor. You get to choose your mentors, by the way. They don't like, it's not like a want, it's not like, oh, I bought you, so you're now my mentor.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so just like think about that and don't force it. It's just like friendships or relationships. If you force a mentorship, they could take advantage of you, or you could be laughed at behind your back and you don't even know it. And that is awful on both parties. Like if you see someone who's searching for mentorship and you know you're not the person, inspire them and ask them a different question to find somebody
Find
else.
somebody else, lead them somewhere else. If and for the older people, if you see somebody that is coming to you for mentorship and you're not at the state that is available to be a mentor, lead them to someone that you believe could help them. Don't don't let them still be out in the wilderness. Lead them somewhere because that is actually what is going to help that person. It will.
And also with so yeah, because mentorship also can look very different depending on how you frame how you go about it. Every mentorship can be different. I have mentors who we just go out, dinner, drinks, we just kind of catch up on things. I have mentors also who will sit down and I'm like, can you show me like how you did like what templates you use for that cover, you know what I mean? There are different ranges you can use if depending on what you need, because if your literal question to them is I have no idea what to put on a cover letter, right? I'll have mentors who are, oh yeah, you want to do it like, yeah, 10-minute sit down on what I put in my last one, something like, because that for me sometimes is super helpful. So
Mhm.
it's not that you don't actually have to ask for, you can actually gain, because especially mentors who are amazing, have like experience in the field that you are in, or just what they're knowledgeable within their own frame, you can ask them and they will be able to help you if that's something that they're comfortable help, or they'll be able to point you in the resources and go, oh, I use this website and it really helped me and blah, blah, blah. Like if you want to use it, talk about it. But also in this framing of mentorship, in this, like, I'm trying to think about my path, who I am, those bigger questions, not like the more, tangible hands on, but more of this, like, let's think about it in the bigger like scheme of the community, society, etc. Those are the things I mean when I say like they shouldn't just say do this. Those are not the questions or the subjects for anyone to tell you just do this and it'll change your life. Just do this and blah blah blah. Just do that. They can say there was a fellowship program I did in
Mhm.
this field and it was something that really helped me. I'm not sure if, because that's the one thing a lot of my professors, none of my professors actually that I've had, like my private lesson teachers, have told me to do exactly what they did. None of them. And they actually discouraged me sometimes from trying to go down the exact path because they were like, that's not who you are. They're like,
That's
that's not what you, and you want that. You want them to, like Michael was saying, the challenge, the pushback of being like, why do you want to do just because I did it?
mm.
Why? You know?
Um, I do want to say that when you have a good foundation and a good group of and network of people, you can really achieve so many things. And also, it's beautiful to be part of someone else's network and part of someone else's foundation. I would just have to say I have to shout out Michael because he gave a phenomenal session at the Georgia Music Educator Conference on Friday, just being in the room and just seeing how people received his topics and everything. It was just beautiful to see. So it is about being available to be in many groups and networks and foundations because it's important. Because now I'm sure Michael and the rest of us, we're going to be in all the states and all the little international and national things. But we know that we can do that because we have each other here. So you got to find people that are going to pour into you for the good.
Well, and thank you for coming. I know I
I
tried.
think
It was great. I know you would have been there.
I was there.
What
Yes.
would you say? Oh,
I was
you were
there.
in the room. You were in the room. Well, and Anthony brings up a great point, and he showed me this weekend by just leading by his example where I have faltered a little bit in conferences, and it's just like going to support your friends when you have the time. Because like I completely forgot some of our friends were doing sessions, and then so it was great because like Anthony reminded me Jack Eady was doing a session, and Jack is an amazing person, just
Uh,
like a beautiful human. And
Mhm.
so like we went to the session, and then Marcus Morris like shouted us out randomly,
yes.
and because the session it just pertained. They also empowered people in the audience that they loved and inspired to were like, hey, what did you do here? This I know you can answer this question, or hey, I heard this from you, and I saw this other stuff, and it was just a great time just to see your friends doing amazing things. It sometimes can be more inspiring than the conference itself.
It
Mhm.
is.
Seeing how they approach life, it can be great.
Yes. And I will say, like, you have to go support the people that support you.
Yes.
And I think it's beautiful to see because this wasn't the first session that I went to where, one of us was in the audience and relative pitch gets shouted out. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, thank you so much. Like, we're just here supporting you. And now you're turning and like to the session that Jack and Marcus and William Irvin was at. They were like, y'all need to go and subscribe to Relative Pitch and go listen to the things that they're doing it. And even Marcus was like, I learned this from Relative Pitches session at Midwest about being your authentic self. And I was just like, oh my goodness. Like, so you have to support the people that support you. Don't
Yeah.
worry about the naysayers. That is because I'm telling you, they can be very vicious and at sometimes it can sound so loud.
Mm.
But what you should do, turn that volume down and turn that volume up that is pumping your music, that is telling you that you can go ahead and achieve all the things that you can do. That's who you need to listen to. And stay
Mhm.
in that little lane, stay right there.
Mhm. I love this, and for we could talk about all of these subjects for days on end, but this is just something we really wanted to because it is conference season, and there's a lot of decision making that happen within the spring semester for a lot of students. So if you're a student and you haven't been thinking about these things, we really hope maybe now go check out what are the conferences in my state or and for funding. I will say this really quickly: funding. Ask your schools.
Yes.
Look up scholarship opportunities online for like conference funding. There are Lyft Music Fund.
Yes.
Yes. And then
Pick it up. Yeah,
well, with Lauren, they have to tell you no.
right.
And when they tell you no, ask a different question
Ask it. Yes.
Reframe,
No.
until
reframe.
you get into a dead end.
Yes.
Ask a
Yes.
different question because it can start with whole trip, then lodging and airfare, then registration. Like keep asking
Yep.
because here's the thing: that's perseverance in a different way.
It is. It is. And like fine for if you have people who go with you, sometimes that cuts down on cost of like the hotel, sometimes even food if you go out to eat and do bigger
Not
things.
with these two. Not with these two.
Okay, we're talking about young students who are getting into it.
Go
So
there. Michael's the one that has the expensive palette. So what are you talking about?
but yeah, just know that there are resources out there, maybe even more that you even probably know that are around you in your community. Maybe even go look at those. Like you never know. So and you can always email us and ask like what are some other like resources that you think blah blah blah. We can talk. But we can make a way out of no way. You know what I mean? Like there is something out there that is wanting to support you in your endeavors. You just may have to put in little Google searches to find
Yes,
it. Um,
absolutely.
But we hope this has been helpful. We hope that if this is something you've been wanting to hear more about, you've been thinking about getting a mentor, you've been thinking about doing a fellowship, going to a conference, these are just our perspectives and things that we have learned within our time as well from our own hearing other people's experiences and perspectives. So we'd love to hear what you think about it, and we'll catch y'all next week.
See you
Maybe.
next week. Bye.